Dear ones, welcome to today. It is Tuesday, July 9th. And it's been a little journey, right? Summer is really kicking us in the ass, it feels like. Well, today, not so great a message, but a fair warning, I like to think. We have the Eight of Swords. This card has to do with, oftentimes we think things are worse than they actually are. And this is a strength card, being an 8, connected to the strength card, or the Trump of Leo. And it has swords, so it has to deal with thoughts. So if we could just tie those together, we can understand that today we might face situations where we will enter a patterning that has been occurring with our thought processes, where we often like to make things a lot more worse than they actually are. We like to skew the reality, warp the reality of what it actually is. We cannot allow ourselves to do that. If we warp what it actually is, then we won't come up with the proper effort and the proper necessaries to overcome this challenge, whatever it is. And it's probably not even a challenge. Here she is. She thinks she might be in the ocean. She's not. She's on dry land. Those binds don't look very secure. She could totally get out of that. Yank the blindfold off her face. Kick down that sword prison. Walk your happy ass home. What I like about this card is it does appear to me in times where I sometimes get, really stressed out and really just like, I have all these things I need to do. But it's like, in actuality, I'm sitting pretty right now. Y'all remember my Colorado adventure. Compared to that, where I'm at right now, it ain't so bad. And it's the swords are often illusions in themselves, just like sometimes the cups are illusions, because the swords are just thoughts, and how we handle those thoughts. And they are aggressive, they are fanciful, they are troubling, they are egotistical, and we cannot allow our mind to be in control of us. It needs to be the other way around. And in fact, it needs to be a partnership. Thank your mind today. Be gentle with yourself today. Thank your mind for looking out for you. It may have a certain agenda with its incessant craving for anxiety, craving to find problems, but just think it and say, you want to know what? We got this. I used to fight my mind all the time, and it wasn't until I started. I read it in another book about meditation. Just be cool with yourself. Thank it for whatever distraction it just gave you. Working with your mind that way, your ego doesn't get so hurt. Doesn't want to fight so much. So it was really not a bad card today. Just a warning. So then why don't we check out the shadow card. The shadow card is the card at the bottom of the deck after the cards have initially been pulled. And we have the Three of Wands. This is the Sun in Gemini, not the Trump. Sun in Aries, not the Trump of Aries, as the Emperor is putting your all into something. This is definitely a solar Aries type of card. He's got all his things launching out. He's looking over, to see, and all the efforts he put into everything. He's all in. It's definitely a fully enveloped card that I think really does hit home with the wands and the rods their quality, what they represent, which is enterprise and will and passion. And enterprise doesn't have everything to do with our career. It's more of the full progression of our life. But career has a lot to do with it. And so perhaps the worries that we have today are centered around, are we not doing enough for ourselves? Are we not progressing further in our lives? What are we even doing here? And those thoughts just need to go. They're not helping. Let's come at ourselves with solutions, not banter that's just gonna rile you up. No, come at yourself with problems. Come at yourself with answers. And solar Aries are very go-getters. They're very fierce and fearless. And I think that the shadow card is trying to tell us this is where we need to be today. This is how we're going to get over this. We have 8 plus 3. 8, 9. That would be 11. 11 is justice. It is the trump of Libra. Justice in tarot has little to do, in my experience, in my understanding, with actual morality. That's a personal matter. Justice has to do with the only thing that the universe will consider justice, which is balance. If there's too much of this, it's going to send that. Too much of that, it's going to send this. The trick is to be in the middle and to know that it's constantly moving. Why do you think I'm always saying, may the wheel turn in your favor? That wheel does not stop, children. If that wheel stops, then there's nothing else. There's nothing sustaining life. Life must continue in the cyclical. Never, ever does it stay the same. But it's always changing, which is the only constant. I love saying that because it's such a weird truth, and it's a paradox. It's like a paradox can only be a truth. So essentially, in order for something to reign true on a cosmic scale, it has to be a paradox of itself. Which that sentence in itself is a paradox. Wow, inception. Anyways, let's continue on. The wheel is surrounded by the devil, and look at that, justice. So we're coming out of a time of maybe a little bit of rebellion, a little bit of self-gratification, and that's okay. Sometimes those things are needed. It looks like we're balancing out with justice. We're owning up for whatever we had done, and these cards over here were already giving us that with the numerology. The next cards we're going to look for is the Lovers, and this is going to be what's surrounding our relationships today. And that's all the relationships that we would possibly have, like the platonic, the colleagues, the familial, and of course romantic. So we have a sitting pretty card, Nine of Pentacles, and we also have the Fool in reverse. So we might have a lack of faith in relationships today. That's what the Fool's telling us. That's what we're going into. But we're coming out of a really self-love area that I don't think it's really going to affect us. We're still focused on the individual self right now. Coming from that Nine of Pentacles, the hard worker who's now enjoying her luxury, and then the Fool in reverse just tells me that you still don't want to venture out yet. And that's probably a good thing. We got a lot of challenges ahead of us today. Well, as always, take what I say here, the interpretation I give here, and contemplate it throughout the day. And may the wheel turn in your favor, children.